Hi, this is Matt Stone from 180 Degree Health, and today is my 15th day on the milk diet. Now, the milk diet is just milk. I am downing cartons of these. I'm drinking 3 of those a day. That's 1.5 gallons of milk. I'm sipping approximately 8 ounces every 30 minutes during most of my waking day. Usually starts, at 7 and goes until maybe 8:30 at night. And I drink tons and tons of this milk. This was something that was recommended by all kinds of different gurus back in the day. Charles Sanford Porter, Bernard McFadden, J.E. Crew, which was he was one of the co-founders of the Mayo Clinic. He actually said that the milk diet was the most effective thing he's ever seen for treating chronic diseases of all kinds, and that it was so powerful. And after 18 years of experience with it, he said that nothing could convince him otherwise. So yes, very powerful stuff. I've read great things about it, so I thought I would try it. Now, as I reported in my first couple of videos, the early going was not so smooth. I had a lot of congestion, and I still have just a little bit, but I really had a ton. I was a faucet. I had a sinus infection. I started to get some pain in my ear. I felt like I was having a little bit of an ear infection. I was constipated. Around day 7, I had some skin breakouts. I had some foul odors emanating out of my body. And it was very interesting. But, a lot of people talk about detox reactions. And I'm not a quick person to jump up and say, oh, it's just detox. Don't worry about it, because I've seen a lot of health practitioners in all walks of the health and nutrition sphere, and they all, use this detox thing as an excuse for every negative thing that happens on the diet. I don't want to be that guy, and I'm very wary about being that guy. But honestly, I do think that some legitimate detox things did occur. That has been flushed out of my system. I feel pretty good now. My skin is very, very clear. That all cleared up. I've actually had this kind of rough skin. And I wouldn't say pimply, but you can see it's sort of splotchy. I know a lot of people suffer from this. Some little bumps on the back of the arms. It's kind of a weird deal, but I know it's very common. I've had that since I was 8 or 9 years old. My mom made me go to the dermatologist and get that checked out. And they didn't, of course they had no idea what really caused that. Told me to use, I think it was Dove soap and some lotion to keep it hydrated or something like that. But I've had that on and off, and it's gotten better and worse and better and worse through all kinds of different transitions I've been through in my life. But right now it's the clearest it's been since I was 8 years old, no doubt about it. That stuff is creamy, moist. My skin is really, really clean and clear and moist and lubricated right now. And I know that a lot of that has to do with the milk diet. My bowels, I was very constipated, the most constipated I've ever been in my life. I don't have any problems with that at all now. So things started to move, things started to flow, and it looks like there was A, some detox, and B, definitely an adjustment period that I had to go through before my body was getting the hang of this milk and nothing but milk diet. So anyways, things are going well. Some other strange occurrences. One of the things I was interested in, these milk diet guys all said that people with low blood pressure would have their blood pressure come up. Well, my blood pressure has been really low, and most people think this is a good thing. I think overall it's definitely much better to be on the low side of normal than to be above normal when it comes to blood pressure. But there's certainly room for debate about whether it's better to be at 120/80 or whether it's better to be where I was at, which is more like 104/60, really pretty low levels of blood pressure. Day 15 this morning, I took my blood pressure 123/71. That's about the highest reading I've had in my life, except for when I was on a zero-carb diet and actually went all the way to like 140/90. A lot of that just stemmed from all the adrenaline of going through that adjustment phase of jumping to zero carbohydrates. It's a very stressful and traumatic experience to make that metabolic adjustment, and I think the hypertension was definitely a sign of that reaction. My pulse rate is still pretty low. Normally my resting pulse is around 50 beats per minute, And today, when I took it this earlier in the day, along with my blood pressure, it was still 51. A lot of milk diet authors talk about that normalizing and coming up to the 60 to 70 beats per minute range. For people who have low pulse rate, they looked at that as a sign of a low metabolism or not being well. And I think there's probably a lot of validity to that as well. Again, there's room for debate. A lot of people think having a low pulse rate is a sign of good health. But like I said, it's definitely up for debate. I'm just reporting. One interesting thing is that later in the day, as I've consumed a lot of milk, it starts to get into the afternoon. My pulse rate starts to rise. My body temperature starts to rise, and that's another thing I'm keyed in on. I've been taking my body temperature under the armpit, and it hasn't come up at all in that first morning reading. Right when I wake up in the morning, it's still right where it was at the first day. But in the late afternoon, I took it, and it was all the way up to 98 degrees, which is pretty high for me. That was one of the highest readings on a thermometer that I've had since I started keeping track of this a couple years ago. So, yes, there's some good signs that some things are starting to turn around. I'm not a full believer or, ready to preach the holy gospel of the milk diet yet, but things are going well, and I wanted to report that. And I wanted to give it some time before I started coming out and making those claims. I guess the last thing I'll mention about the milk diet that's interesting is that when I first started, I lost weight really, really quickly, and I was surprised. I wasn't expecting to lose weight. 6 quarts of milk is a lot. I was drinking more like 5 quarts for the first few days as I was trying to get used to it, and then with all the congestion and everything, I really backed off quite a bit and was probably averaging 5 quarts. And I lost 5 pounds in the first 9 days. And then since then, my weight started jumping right back up again. It went all the way up to 190.5, which was a 3.5 pound increase from where it bottomed out on day 7. And then now it seems like it went back down again this morning. It's at 190. I mean, a lot of these are just water fluctuations and things like that. I haven't noticed any favorable changes in body composition or anything like that. That's some honest reporting for you there. But yeah, all other signs are pretty good. A lot of things I battled with in the first week have subsided, and I've left those in the dust. So we'll see how this continues. We're halfway. I'm going to do it all the full 30 days, and I give you the full report on how it went with the milk diet. But anyway, that's it for today's update. Thanks again. This is Matt Stone of 180 Degrees.